Welcome to TEJ Podcast, your updated GOAT debate. Have your coffee ready? Let's get down to the pages.
So, there are a couple of elements that are not tennis criteria. So tennis is a very objective and universal sport, and GOAT criteria should follow this logic. It's not personal, it's not subjective. It is objective and universal. So in tennis, it doesn't really matter if you play beautifully or if you play ugly. What matters is if you win or if you lose. And that's what going to dictate the logics of tennis. So if your style of play, if it is beautiful or not, you have a good serve, you have a good, it doesn't really matter. What matters is if you are the champion, if you're the best in the world, if you win matches. That's what really matters in tennis. And everything that happens off court, outside of the court, doesn't really matter. You know, if you're gonna have this sort of a broad view, broad sense of the sport and whatever a person represents of this, we're gonna end up having tennis players challenging pop stars, maybe singers, maybe I don't know, maybe actresses, you know, because they all can fill in the category of being a role model and doing a lot of things, and because what matters is outside of the court or outside of the stage. No, you're great or you're not great based on what you do inside the court, on a tennis court, not outside of it. If you're not talking about outside the court, all right, you can go ahead and talk about it, but it's not tennis. It's not tennis. So it doesn't really matter the number of followers you have on social media, your moves, your style of play, prize money, endorsements, personal character, behavior, charity, political views, or social activism. It doesn't really matter. How you want to make a syndicate for the players, a unit, it doesn't really matter. It's outside court. Who cares about it? Who cares about? Now Kramer is going to be the best one just because he has helped make up, forge the ATP? No, of course not. He's going to be the best because he won inside the court. That's the logic of tennis. And it should be that way. It obviously should be that way. It's sports. It's not arts. When we're talking about arts, then all right. Then you talk about very subjective components, and the perception and the passions that you have, the style, what it represents in terms of social and if it is revolutionary or you know, all of those things put together. That's arts. Tennis is not like that. Tennis is a player playing against his opponent, and the winner is the victory. Is a victor. Ultimately the champion, ultimately the number one in the sport, and that's what matters for tennis. So for criteria selection, in order of criteria selection, whenever we may find a GOAT, be it of modern tennis or all-time great, we do have to select our criteria. If we're talking about the all-time greats, we need to make that criteria equal over all those eras, all of those different eras. They must have the same metric. We cannot have prize money, for example, because that would be very almost impossible to have be comparing to have it compared with the past guys. Even Grand Slams were really hard. But you can have all titles, you can have majors, you can have year-end number ones. You cannot have weeks, but you could have year-ends based on experts, rivalries, winning percentage. So all of those things that you can compare throughout the whole history, you can use. The others that you cannot, you throw it away. And the same thing with modern tennis. With modern tennis, you can have, then you can really have, okay, majors, I can translate it into Grand Slams, because Grand Slams, they combine amateurs, professionals, whatever. I can have weeks, because we do have a weekly count of greatness, of who's the best. We can not only have the number ones, but also the top tens, and so on. And that for modern tennis works, because it's very comprehensive and objective and very recorded sort of set of criteria. So those kind of things you can have for modern tennis. And what you really want to have is something that is very objective and representative for what you want to say. So, for example, there's some things that are completely irrelevant. The points, games, the aces, the first serve points, and that's irrelevant. Those are stats of the game. They can help you on the tactics. They can mirror, perhaps, the best guys in the sport, but they are not relevant. It's not something that the players are going to be chasing to become great. They're just matters of course. They're just facts. They're not relevant in determining who's the GOAT of the sport. And also there are a couple of other things that are really biased. For example, the number of tournaments that a guy won of one specific tournament. Oh, this is the best because he has won 15 of a specific tournament on wooden surface. It doesn't really matter, because tennis is not only wooden surfaces, it's all surfaces. So you're gonna have to check them all. And also with the guy has 900 consecutive weeks of something, it doesn't really matter. First of all, because the guy could have 3 runs of consecutive wins, and would that mean that he's going to be fighting against himself to see who's the GOAT? Himself version of 2001 or himself version of 1992? No, that's not right. He cannot compete against himself. All of those metrics, they should be combined into one player, so that this player can have them against all of the other ones. And that's the overall number of weeks as number one. That's the overall number of final victories in some, But it really needs to be. It cannot be duplicated. The player cannot compete against himself. Oh, who's the best? Oh, that player is the best. He has won 10 big titles in one season. Doesn't really matter. Oh, he's the best. He has like 95% of winning loss in one season. It doesn't really matter. Because that guy could have like multiple seasons with that sort of that level of play, but he cannot compete against himself. He got to compete against the other ones. So we do need to have criteria that cannot be repetitive, and relevant criteria, not criteria that are not relevant at all. Like how many matches he won after losing the first set. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. So those things really should be taken into account, and I'm going to finish out the other ones in a few minutes. And so we do have this one too. For example, the tennis main objectives are who's the winner, who's the champion, and who's the best. That's what tennis is all about. Matches, trophies, and rankings. So all of what we have to look into is the player who is the winner. His main objective is to defeat his opponent. So the match level, the first dimension, first image. The second image, the second dimension is the titles, the trophies. The objective of a player is to be the champion. So he's going to be the champion. In order to be the champion, he's got to win the tournament and lift the trophy. And same thing goes on into the third image, the third dimension of tennis, which is to be the best. In order to be the best, you need to be number one in the rankings, written by the ATP rankings, given by the ATP rankings. In order to be the best, you gotta be the most consistent player winning tournaments, but not only winning tournaments, but being the second, the third, making semifinals, making again and again third rounds, you know, for a little bit lower ranked players. In any case, you have those three images. And the first dimension being matches, the second trophies, the third rankings. You gotta be, the player wants to be the winner, he wants to be the champion, and he wants to be the best. Those are all three criteria of tennis that we should use in order to determine who is the GOAT and who is not.